Several rules established by the EPA are related to the e-manifest system. The first rule, known as the one-year rule, establishes the legal and policy framework of the e-manifest system. The rule's purpose is to codify key provisions on the scope of the users and manifests eligible for the e-manifest system, require consistent implementation in all states, finalize the EPA's movement to an e-manifest system, and announce future policy decisions around this. In 2017, the user fee rule went into effect, giving the EPA the authority to establish user fees determined to be necessary to offset the costs of operating the e-manifest system. Finally, in 2024, the EPA published what is referred to as the third rule, which incorporates export manifests and other manifest-related reports into e-manifests. There are also procedures outlined to handle manifest discrepancies and rejections. A manifest discrepancy occurs when there's a difference in the quantity or type of hazardous waste listed on the manifest and the quantity or type the facility actually receives. Once the discrepancy is discovered, the owner or operator should attempt to reconcile the discrepancy with the waste generator or transporter. If the discrepancy can't be resolved within 20 days, then the operator must submit a letter to the regional administrator outlining the discrepancy and the steps taken to reconcile it with a copy of the manifest in question. A discrepancy report should also be submitted to the EPA via the e-manifest system. Receiving facilities may reject hazardous waste that it's either not equipped to accept or empty containers that contain residue that exceeds quantities in the definition of an empty container. In this case, the receiving facility should consult with the generator to determine an alternate facility that can receive the waste. If another facility can't be found, the waste should be returned to the generator. This must be done within 60 days, and the rejected waste should stay with the transporter or in a secure temporary storage area during this time. A new manifest must be created with all the appropriate information before the waste is either returned or moved. Some other rules are more specific to the RCRA regulations themselves: the mixture rule, derived from rule, and the contained-in policy. The mixture rule is just what it sounds like. It governs the mixing of hazardous waste with non-hazardous waste. If any amount of a listed hazardous waste, regardless of quantity, is mixed with a non-hazardous waste, the mixture becomes a listed hazardous waste under RCRA. The derived from rule is very similar in that it governs residue resulting from the treatment, storage, or disposal of listed hazardous waste. For example, the burning of a listed hazardous sludge will result in ash. Ash itself isn't considered a hazardous material. However, since it is derived from the sludge, it's considered a listed hazardous waste and should be treated as such. The final special regulatory rule is the contained-in policy. This policy applies to environmental media, such as soil, groundwater, or debris, that may contain listed hazardous materials. When this is the case, the contaminated debris should be treated as hazardous waste under RCRA until a contained-in determination is made by the EPA showing that it no longer contains hazardous waste. Once that determination is approved, the material may be managed as non-hazardous. When issues arise with hazardous waste under RCRA, corrective action needs to be taken. To do this, the EPA created the Hazardous Waste Cleanup Program, which consists of two main parts: the RCRA First Approach and the RCRA Toolbox. The RCRA First Approach was created to streamline the investigative process and remedy selection under the Hazardous Waste Cleanup Program. The first approach addresses issues of unclear or nonspecific investigation or cleanup objectives and a lack of process concerning differences among interested parties. It starts with making sure everyone involved understands the objectives of the investigation and the remedy selection phases, and enhancing communication. The RCRA First approach also promotes the idea of doing it right the first time and using critical decision-making to rapidly resolve disputes. Finally, it stays within the technical and regulatory frameworks of the Corrective Action Program. The RCRA First Toolbox provides the tools necessary for EPA regional staff and partners to effectively use the first approach. The Toolbox document includes how-to guides, flow maps, and 12 tools and templates that can be used to implement the first approach effectively. All of these rules and tools, along with the regulations outlined in the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act and the use of the e-manifest system, make the disposal, storage, and transportation of hazardous waste safer and more streamlined for everyone.